Hey, I have a question for you. The person that you're in a relationship with right now, is he the one?
This is the Truth Pop Podcast with Jake and Cathy, a Catholic take on faith and culture. Be sure to subscribe.
Welcome to another episode of the Truth Pop Podcast. I'm Cathy.
And I'm Jake.
And we are a married couple giving you a Catholic take on faith and culture, helping you to live out your faith in modern day society.
So appreciate the feedback that you've given us on the last episode that we did, answering some questions when it comes to dating, because dating is so difficult in today's world. And if you're striving to have a Christ-centered relationship, I just want to continue to give you some helpful tips and resources. And if you were able to come out to the special dating panel that Cathy and I had the chance to be a part of at St. Alphonsus in Chicago a couple of weeks ago, it was so awesome, so grateful that you are a part of it. And so we want to continue this conversation in the next episode and answer more questions that have come in. And also going to be launching a multi-part series where we not only talk about dating, but we also, in the next couple of episodes, will get into what it looks like to be engaged as a Catholic, like Catholic engagement. How do you navigate that? And then we'll also do some episodes on marriage as well and explore some of those deeper questions that come in when it comes to having a Christ-centered marriage. So there's so much to unpack. So if you have any particular questions, you can contact us on our brand new website. Just go to truthpop.net and click on the contact tab there. And that's where you can submit any question you have. We'd be happy to cover it. So let's go back to that question, babe, related to like how you know that the person you're in a relationship with, how do you know that person is the one? That's a tough question.
Yeah, it really is. Because I read a book many years back, and it was about how to find the one. And I kid you not, every time the author mentioned the one, she capitalized the one as if it was God.
Yeah, I mean, you bring up a really interesting point, babe, and I think we could do an entire episode on this very topic, but there's a lot of debate about like whether or not God has a soulmate for you. And I think maybe the one danger just within that whole argument is not so much whether or not God has someone special for you, but regardless of the answer to that question, like that person is not going to be your savior.
Right.
And that person is not going to fix your wounds. So whatever wounds you're struggling with now in your relationship are still going to be there if you decide to get married.
They may even be intensified.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I mean, the person that's going to heal your wounds is Jesus. So, I mean, I think that's one really important thing to consider is like, ask yourself, like, what's my intention for getting married? Like, what's the reasoning? Am I looking at this potential future spouse as someone who's going to make me feel better all the time? Or am I approaching this discernment of marriage with my relationship with my significant other? Am I looking at that person as someone I want to give myself to, somebody that I can serve, somebody I can be the one for?
Yeah. So I guess a better question rather than, is this person the one? Can I be the one for this person?
Yeah.
Because marriage and relationships, they're not about you. They're about the person you're with. And so it should never be about, oh, what can I get out of this person? It should always be about, how can I serve this person?
Yeah, and I think if you recognize certain things in your significant other where maybe they still have a path of healing to go through, maybe this is that time to be honest about it and don't just shove those red flags under the carpet.
Yeah.
Because they're going to be bringing in those wounds into the marriage, and that could be very difficult. And this isn't coming from any sort of judgmental place where you're critically analyzing the person, but bring God into that discernment and ask him, like, is this the person that I'm called to love and to help get to heaven? And I think if God has made it clear that that's the person for you, then, you know, he's going to help you. He's going to bring about that healing for you and for your future spouse. Because, I mean, everybody has wounds. Everybody has difficulty, but how much are we willing to address those wounds now before walking down the aisle?
I agree with you. And I think that finding a person of virtue and faith is very important. And I think it's even more important than the feelings that they may be giving you. Then I mean, attraction is very important.
Yeah.
You should be attracted to the person that you're with. But if this person is a person of virtue and you have a deep friendship with this person, I think that is a really good sign that this person could be a potential spouse.
Looking at it like an ice cream sundae. Forgive me, I have a sweet tooth all the time, so I'm going to use this analogy. But can I just say that I feel like the main base, like of the sundae, like you could say the ice cream, would be the friendship. It could be the filial love. It could be the agape love. And the whipped cream, which adds so much to the sundae, would be the added attraction, the added sense of romance, and the excitement, the spark, right? Like, it's not an ice cream sundae without the extra fun stuff, the whipped cream, the cherries, but it's not all of the sundae. So you have to have both.
Yeah, and bringing up our own experience, how I knew that you were the one, Jake, and how I knew that I wanted to be the one for you. I just had this sense. We brought Christ into our relationship. And so we prayed a lot together. We went to adoration together. And I just had this strong sense that God was inviting us to discern marriage. And I had this freedom, where I didn't feel like, no, this needs to be it. I just remember, like, you had told me you had some concerns, and I didn't get insecure like I would have in the past. I felt completely comfortable with that. And I said, that's okay. This is in God's hands. And I just had this sense of peace. And I felt respected by you, and I felt pursued by you. And over time, it just became very obvious that that was what God was calling us to.
Yeah, and I appreciate you bringing that up, babe. And I mean, I appreciated how patient you were, because I was carrying a lot of excessive guilt about like feeling forced to consider the priesthood, and it wasn't a gentle invitation. What it really was kind of like this deep pressure that I felt, because a lot of times people would say, "Hey, make a good priest," and I think God allowed that insecurity and that anxiety to really boil up to the surface really badly by the time we were in a relationship. And I think normally the rule of discernment is, like, if you were really thinking about religious life, you probably shouldn't be dating somebody. Like, you probably shouldn't be in a relationship. But I think God still allowed that for me. And I still, babe, like, I took a step back and talked to a spiritual director about it. And the spiritual director had really good advice for me, just helping me to realize that a vocation, it's a gift, it's a gentle invitation, and it's not something you're forced into. You're free. So I decided to do a silent retreat for a whole weekend. And that was so crucial for me, because I was able to really unplug from that noise that was in my head, those shoulds that were really ringing loudly, telling me, oh, like, in order to be holy, in order to become a saint, you got to be a priest. Because let's be real, I think sometimes a lot of Catholics might think that religious vocations are better than marriage. But the silent retreat really helped me to realize that, well, marriage was my path to sanctity, that I was being called to a different way of holiness, that I think so oftentimes people think marriage is just, oh, it's for my own happiness. And we're getting back again to that point of, it's not about me. It's not about my feelings. And God was really purifying me of the way I looked at marriage through my struggles with discernment. So yeah, this all came to a head when we were in a relationship together, babe, and you were so patient with me through the process. And yeah, God, I think, again, really stripped me of the way that I saw marriage so that I could be more ready and more willing to give in a pure way. I knew I was specifically called to be married to you, babe, through so much peace that I found, and just thinking about our life together. As Taylor Swift says, two is better than one, but specifically you were the perfect person to complement me.
Definitely not perfect.
Well, almost perfect. In the sense that we could do so much together, specifically with your gifts, your talents, and the person that you are. It was like amazing to think about how we could serve people together, not just each other. And I realized that this was such a gift, and it was a gentle invitation from the Lord that filled me with just a peace that I had never experienced before in my life. And It was just so profound. So Jesus will speak through that peace. He'll give you that reassurance that, yes, this is the person you're meant to be with. He's not going to leave you confused. He's going to give you that clarity. But
Yeah, confusion's from the devil.
yeah, so if you feel that confusion, if you feel the chaos, then, that could be a sign that you're just not really hearing from the Lord yet. So keep taking it to prayer.
So the next question is, how do you address and bring up marriage when you're in a relationship? I would just say it's always important to have clear communication. I don't know, some people like to be very upfront and honest. Some people don't. It really does depend on your relationship, and every single relationship is different. There's no right or wrong answer on how to bring up marriage. I think it can be subtle sometimes. If you don't want to come on too strong, you can make subtle hints.
I keep going back to this idea, babe, that it's so important to receive the sacraments as much as possible when you're in that relationship. And I think that if you can do it together, even better. So going to confession together, especially if you're struggling with purity, if you're struggling in that area of your relationship, but definitely going to mass together, going in front of our Lord in the Blessed Sacrament, so that way you can receive Jesus together. But the grace from the sacrament is what's really going to fuel your relationship and help you to really decipher what that voice from the Lord really is. Because, in the Gospels, babe, we've been hearing about Jesus this week saying, I am the good shepherd. Those who know me hear my voice. So I think the more that we really listen to the Father, the more we can recognize his voice and separate those voices that are not from him. But in order to do that, we need to take time for silence and step in to that mystery of the unknown, knowing that Jesus is going to be there to meet us.
This is the Truth Pop Podcast. Fill your faith.